ॐ प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः. Pranams everyone. We are in the 5th chapter, Sloka number 7. Shri Bhagavān uvacha yoga yukto vijitātmā vijitātmā jitendriyaḥ sarva-bhūtātma-bhūtātmā kurvannapi na lipyate. So here Bhagavān is giving this step-by-step sadhana from karma yoga until moksha. So we call this sloka, as I said, as sampradaya sloka, because Bhagavān gives step by step. And we had already seen the meaning for yoga yukto vijitātmā. Yoga yuktaha means we saw that to be karma yogi. So Bhagavān starts with karma yoga. Karma yoga is the first stage. So what is karma yoga? Karma yoga is about samatvam. Sagat samatvam, having an equanimity in the mind, not getting our likes and dislikes in the way of performing our duties, not getting affected by the results of our action. That is samatvam. Then prasada buddhi. Whatever we do as kamya karmas, the results of it are taken as Ishvara prasada. We do not feel overly elated or overly depressed by the results of our action. So this is basically karma yoga. And then he said vijitātmā. Vijitātmā means, here we saw ātma to be mind. Vishuddhi means purity. Vijitātmā means one who has attained purified mind, pure mind. In other words, one who is free from delusion, one who is not in moham. So this vijitātmā is basically the phalam, or the result of following karma yoga. So this is the first stage, karma yoga, the result of which is vijitātmā. What is the phalam of karma yoga? Purity of mind and clarity in intellect. The clarity, what sort of clarity in intellect? That the whole world is transient, that my final goal is moksha, and my only desire is for attaining moksha. That clarity in intellect comes out of karma yoga. So yoga yukta vijitātmā. Now in the next word Bhagavān says vijitātmā. We are yet to see this word vijitātmā. Here again ātma does not refer to ātma or the mind here. Here vijitātmā refers to body, senses. We can include mind also here. But overall all the sukshma sharira and the stula sharira is referred as ātma here. Vijitātmā jitendriyaḥ. So the question is, what is Bhagavān has given this body to us. Vijitātmā means one who is the master of this body. So the question is whether we should be the master of our body or whether the body should be our master. Sometimes we have seen, when people actually take their dogs out for a walk, sometimes we don't know whether the dog is taking the master or the master is taking the dog. So in this, because sometimes we lose control. The same way we don't know whether the body is controlling us or we are controlling the body. And this person vijitātmā here means the person who is the master of his body, senses and mind. And then the next word is jitendriyaḥ. We can take this together. Vijitātmā jitendriyaḥ. Jitendriyaḥ means one who has mastered the sense organs. So the question is, vijitātmā, one who has mastered the body, jitendriyaḥ, one who has mastered the senses. When can somebody master both the body and the senses, or what sort of sadhana must one perform to be able to be the master of body and senses? The answer is upāsanā. So the upāsanā sadhana, or through upāsanā sadhana, one can become vijitātmā and jitendriyaḥ. Those are the benefits of upāsanā yoga. So in the first two words, Bhagavān talked about karma yoga and its benefit. This next two words, Bhagavān says, gives the benefit of upāsanā yoga. But remember, mastering the senses is not easy, especially the mouth. Because for many people, if they come to know of something, if they come to know of some information, if they get hold of some information, it is not possible for them to keep their mouth shut. It's not possible for them to keep their secrets. Forget secret. If they come to know it is whether it is secret or not, they want to actually share it with others. That is a tendency to say that I know it first, or you heard it from me first. So if they are not able to share it with others, they will get restless. So mastering that is always difficult. It is not impossible, but it is difficult. Even if one is able to control the mouth, that's fine. Mind control is even more difficult. So here I have got some information I would want to share, or I am not able to share, or whatever it is. If I don't have anybody around me to actually talk to, people talk to themselves. So you can see people talking to themselves when they are walking on the road, or when they are at home alone. Why? Because the mind is working overtime. We are not able to put a stop to the mind. The mind is constantly chattering, constantly thinking, constantly inducing us to talk. So what happens? The individual himself, the person himself splits into two persons, and one person is talking to another person. So upāsanā is about restricting these things, restricting the body, restricting the mind. It is basically to practice this body and mind into adjusting in an environment where it is able to live confidently with or without things or people around it. So the body and the mind is able to live confidently without the need for having people around or things around itself. So that is about upāsanā. So this upāsanā as a sadhana will bring all the instruments. Body is an instrument, my sense organs are an instrument, mind is an instrument. It is about bringing these instruments into the control. That is upāsanā. So what we saw, yoga yukta vijitātmā. Vijitātmā, we saw purity. So first step, we clean the instruments. In the next step, we bring them into our control. Just like when we buy any new house or a car or whatever it is, we first clean it. We want to make it spick and span. Then what happens? We must regularly maintain it. We have to keep control on it. We cannot allow the car to run the way it wants. So in the same way, we will have to ensure that these instruments, the body, mind, senses, are cleaned, oiled, kept in control. So first karma yoga, then upāsanā yoga. And this is not like, okay, we listen to this now, because we have listened to it, now we are able to keep our mind pure, we are able to keep our instruments in control. That is not how it works. That's why Vedānta is not a 3-year course or a 5-year course or a 1-year course or a short-term course. Okay, I want to hear Vedānta, I want to have a short-term course. It doesn't work that way. It's a lifelong process. And we need to be constantly soaked in this knowledge. Otherwise we tend to lose. It's like that gulab jamun to actually be sweet, to give its full effect, it has to be constantly soaked in sugar syrup. So in similar way, the Vedanta, we have to be constantly soaked in Vedanta. We shouldn't come out. So you say, okay, 3 months course I have done in Vedanta, now I am ready for the world. It doesn't work that way. It's not a certification. It is about controlling ourselves. And that is why many people also find Vedanta to be difficult. Because if somebody says go to a temple, do some puja, do some dana, do some vrata, take some vrata, it's fine. Because for them, you do it and you are done. So to go to a temple, I need to take a shower, that's it. I need to clean my body, yes. But for Vedanta, we'll have to clean not just the body, we'll have to clean our mind, our intellect and all those things. So it starts with changing the character. So it's not easy. That's why in Vedanta we say what you are is more important than what you have. And for people who come to Vedanta also, what happens is after some time or within a few weeks they drop out. The reason is they think they have this guilt feeling. Many a times when these teachings come, it would feel as if it is directly addressing us. So they drop out because of the guilt feeling. But then there are people, when they say, you have changed for the better by attending these classes, it will actually motivate us. It will make us feel good because we are progressing. It will encourage us to do further. So this chapter 13, those 20 attributes we saw, and then in chapter 16 we saw 24 attributes. We talked about the need for changing the gunas. And as I said, many people do not want to come listen to Vedanta because, as I said, it gives them a guilt feeling, hurt feeling. If they want to drop off because of that, it's fine, because everybody will have to mature by themselves. But the key thing is, all these things that Vedanta talks about, Bhagavad Gita talks about, karma yoga, upāsanā yoga, dhyāna, japa, it is all about ensuring that we are able to change our character, our attitude, our mental thought process, our priorities. So here Bhagavān gives these things. So vijitātmā, vijitātmā, jitendriyaḥ, clean, and then gain mastery over the body and senses. That's the first line. Now second line, Bhagavān says, again here also Bhagavān does not give the sadhana but gives the benefit directly. So he says the next sadhana when a person does, he gets a vision. He gets a vision that is as a result of the sadhana. And this is a beautiful phrase. The vision through which the sadhaka sees the world. So by following the sadhana that Vedanta teaches us, this sadhaka will get a vision through which he sees the world. And Bhagavān gives that poetically, he says, sarva-bhūtātma-bhūtātmā. Sarva-bhūtātma-bhūtātmā. So bhūtātma repeats. Sarva-bhūtātma-bhūtātmā. We will take the first sarva-bhūtātma. The next bhūtātma will take it later. Sarva means all. Bhūtātma means beings. So sarvesham bhūtānam means of all beings, of all jiva rasis. Bhūtātma means of all jiva rasis, which means from Brahma to a single celled being. So we will have to include all the devatas, human beings, mosquitoes, lizards, cockroach, everything, of all beings. Now what has this sadhaka become? He has become, if we take the second bhūtātma, we can read it as ātma bhūtaḥ. Ātma bhūtaḥ. Bhūtātma can be read as ātma bhūtaḥ. What it means is, the sadhaka has become the ātma swarupa. Ātma swarupa of all beings. In other words, sarva-bhūtātma-bhūtātmā means the sadhaka has become the ātma of all beings. He is the ātma behind all jiva rasis. In other words, the sadhaka sees the self. Sadhaka sees the self in all jiva rasis. This particular phrase, this particular thought process, this particular understanding, that sarva-bhūtātma-bhūtātmā, this is repeated in Bhagavad Gita and in Upanishads as well. Even in 6th chapter, Bhagavān will say the same. He will say sarva-bhūtāstam ātmanam sarva-bhūtāni cha ātmani. One whose mind is disciplined by yoga will see the self in all beings. Seeing the self in all is the final change that a sadhaka will get. Even in Ishavasya Upanishad it is actually called out. So the same thing is said by Bhagavān here. And this vision, when will we get? This vision is a benefit. The sadhana that one must do is jnana yoga. The vision or the knowledge that I am the self behind all the jiva rasis is got from the sadhana called jnana yoga through Mahavakya Shravanam. Mahavakya Shravanam of Aham Brahmasmi Tattvamasi. Through that the sadhaka gets this knowledge, gets the understanding. Sarva-bhūtātma-bhūtātmā, as in I am the self behind all the jiva rasis. Now if you look at it, the language used by Bhagavān here, Bhagavān did not say the sadhaka thinks that he is the self behind all jiva rasis. Bhagavān says he understands that he is the self behind all jiva rasis. It is not that it is a perception, it is the reality. The self is behind all the jiva rasis, that the sadhaka understands. And not that until the person gets that stage, until that stage it is not true. It is not that the self is not behind all jiva rasis. The self is always behind all jiva rasis. But the sadhaka is able to understand that only through jnana yoga. The sadhaka has become jnana swarupa. Because at the start what happens? We all consider ourselves to be the body and mind. I am the body and the mind. I am the body and then the mind. Then the next stage what happens? I consider myself to be the body and the mind, but I have an extra ātma inside the body. So I am the body and mind, I have an ātma inside me. This is the second stage. Then the third stage, now to come to the second stage itself is difficult. Then the third stage is, I consider myself to be the ātma and I have the body and mind. So I am not the body and mind, I am the ātma, and this body and mind are given to me. This is again the third stage. This stage itself is also very difficult. To be constantly be aware that I am not this body, I am not this mind. Because what happens? We always say, I am angry. Because we always associate or we put our abhimana on the mind. We have this identification with the mind. I am beautiful. I am ugly. I am tall. I am short. Because we are still in the first stage. Second stage is, I am the body and mind. I have an ātma inside me. Third stage, I am the ātma and I have this body and mind. Then we come to Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga, then we go to more stages. Then we say, this ātma and another person's ātma are one and the same. There is no difference between this ātma and that ātma. Then finally we have to agree, we will have to come to the stage that there is only ātma, there is only Brahman. Brahmaiva Satyam. Jagat Mithya. The whole thing are superimposition. The whole thing has been superimposed on Brahman. Brahman alone is. So that is the final stage. So to come to that stage, I am the self behind all jivarasis, it requires Karma Yoga, Upāsanā Yoga, Jnana Yoga to come to that stage. So before we come to Jnana Yoga, we, as I said, we take self to the body and mind. So we will have to keep remembering ourselves. The 5 stages of consciousness and the 5 stages of the 5 principles of Vedānta, which I had shared in the group some time back, we'll have to keep remembering that. And I am the consciousness, I am independent of the body and mind. I am the one which enlivens this body. I am there even after the fall of the body. By knowing myself to be this consciousness, life is a pleasure or is a game. But if I don't remember myself to be consciousness, life is a struggle. So that we need to keep remembering ourselves, that we need to keep reminding ourselves. For us, if we want to remind ourselves again and again, we'll have to go back to chapter 2 between Sloka 12 and 25. If we keep studying that, listening to that, that knowledge will seep into the intellect. So we have to understand that the consciousness which is there in my body is the same as a consciousness which is enlivening all the bodies. It is the same consciousness, it is not different consciousness. It's the same light which falls upon myself and this chair and everything around me. It's the same light. Similarly, there is only one formless consciousness which is pervading every formed body. So sarva-bhūtātma-bhūtātmā. It is not that I am the only ekabhuta atma. Bhuta means here shariram. Sarva-bhūtātma means I am the only one behind this shariram. I am not only behind this shariram, I am behind all sharirams. I am the single consciousness which is pervading all the bodies. Again, to get to that stage, first stage is Karma Yoga. Purify the mind. Purify the mind from delusion. We are in constant state of delusion. We always think that is good, this is better, I should have been there, if only I was there, if only I could do this. This constant delusion is there. So to overcome that delusion, one must do Karma Yoga. Get a clarity around life's priorities. Then through Upāsanā Yoga, one masters body and senses. Then through Jnana Yoga, we understand I am the self behind all jivarasis. Then finally, Bhagavān says, gives the benefit. So, Yoga Yukta Vishuddhātma, vijitātmā, jitendriyaḥ, sarva-bhūtātma-bhūtātmā. What is the benefit of these? Kurvan api na lipyate. Api kurvan. Even though he is acting in the midst of action. Kurvan means he is in the midst of action. Bhagavan says, na lipyate. He is not affected. So we might get a doubt here as to, for a person who has this knowledge, will he really have any desire to do any action? So the answer is, he will not have any desire, but he will perform actions for loka sangraha. He does not benefit or lose by doing any actions. Similarly, he does not benefit or lose anything by not doing actions also. But he will still be in the midst of actions. He will not, as I said, he will not benefit, he will not like to do some action, he will not dislike to do any action. He will not like to avoid any action, he will not dislike to avoid any action. Whereas for us, initially, for example, sadhakas, we will take an example. For the sadhakas, initially, in the initial stages, we know solitude is an important sadhana. To be alone. To be alone, not with any gadgets around us, any people around us, to just sit alone with nobody around. But some people may have this fear, or the fear of being alone, that feeling afraid in solitude. They start feeling lonely. So they will start craving for people. So there will be fear, there will be craving. But what happens as we practice, as we mature, and as we get brave, this mind will desire for solitude. The mind will desire solitude so much so that the mind will start feeling afraid once we start seeing people. We will feel that people around us are actually spoiling our mind. Because we want our mind to be calm, quiet, peaceful, happy, contented and others. But when people come up to next to us and they start talking about so many things, so many ātma vishayas, then what happens is unnecessary stuff will start creating problems for our mind. So we will start trying to avoid people. So first solitude will give us fear. Then what happens? The situation changes. When people come, we feel fear, we feel afraid. Oh my God, these people have come, I really don't want to meet anybody. But what is the real maturity? The real maturity is, as we mature, neither of it should give us fear. When people are there, it's okay. When people are not there also, it's okay. That is because we realize, when can that happen? Only when we realize our level is different. Theirs is different. I am able to live with people around, I am able to live without people around me. That should be the maturity. And we also see, when we are practicing Vedānta for some days, when we speak to people who are not exposed to Vedānta, what will happen? We will not be able to connect with them. We will be able to see them that what they are talking are at a mundane level. And say, oh my God, you're still in this level. We might have this feeling. This we can observe if we had progressed. If we had progressed, we would say that, okay, the people who are talking about really unnecessary, unwanted stuff. Useless things, so to speak. Insignificant things. People talking about dresses, OTT platform, movies, gossip, jewelry, saris, holidays, all those things. But it's okay. We should not get affected, and we should not get any aversion or hatred. We should not get any superiority complex also. We should just, if we are in that group, we just need to listen. There is no need for us to judge anybody here. Nor we should not get any aversion or hatred. But we have to be careful, because this is a maturity that we have cultivated over a long period of time. We should not get these things affect us. So whether we are alone or whether we are in the midst of people, we should not get affected. Sometimes we may have to just participate in those discussions. It is fine, knowing fully well that you cannot talk about Vedānta to them. So you just need to engage them and you talk at that level and then come back. But we have to be careful here, thinking that okay, I'll be okay anywhere, I can just go and sit among these gossips and I will not get affected. Initial stages, that is not the case. Initial stages, if we go and say, okay, look, I am actually practicing, but I can still be in the midst of all these gossips and not get affected, that's not possible. We might be dragged down. In the initial stages, we must avoid all these gossips. We must look for solitude. Only when we are able to completely see the maturity in ourselves that we will not get affected by these gossips, then we can go in the midst of people and be participative, slightly participative in these discussions and still not get enamored by them. When we come back after a discussion and feel that the other person is happier, it's a case where we have not matured. If we think that the other person is more happy than me, then obviously Vedanta has not got it. So we have to be careful. We'll have to then do more sadhanas. Sometimes what happens is with the mind, our mind itself will play tricks on us. Whatever we study, whatever we hear from Vedanta, we also have this selective hearing. Again, another one I had shared it recently. Our prejudice, our likes and dislikes will make us accept only selected things from what we hear. Selective hearing. So the mind itself will try to use the words to our advantage. So we'll have to be careful then. But what I'm trying to say here, initial stages, things like solitude, we should seek solitude. We should avoid unnecessary people, unnecessary crowd. Then in the next stage, even if our solitude gets disturbed by people, when we are matured, then it's fine. Initially seek solitude. Next stage we will have this problem of meeting people, get over that also. Then get to the stage where both are okay. Being alone is okay, being in the midst of people is also okay. In this first in the same stage, practice maunam. Prefer not to talk to anybody. Then even if some others people talk, it's okay. Then finally whether people talk or not talk, it's still okay. So it's not about, it's about making sure that we do not fall under our likes and dislikes. We should not get any aversion or hatred. We should not have any superiority complex. Those are the key things here. So here Bhagavan says, Jnana Yogi, he does not get affected even when doing actions. Kurvannapi na lipyate. So what does this mean? Having mastered the body and sense organs, the pure-minded karma yogi understands that he is the ātma behind all beings. And though he is in the midst of action, he is not affected by the actions. So the essence of this sloka is Bhagavan is giving a step-by-step sadhana and the benefit. Finally saying that this person will attain moksha. So first, bodily actions. Karma yoga is done through body. So kāyika karma. Then upāsanā includes bhakti, pārāyanam, puja, japam. It is all vāchika karma. Upāsanā also involves dhyāna, meditation, japa. So that is manasa karma. So through kāyika, vāchika, manasa karma, then finally we'll have to come to jnana, which is buddhi karma. So kāyika, vāchika, manasa, buddhi karma, finally we get moksha. So these are the step by step through which a person attains moksha, for starting from karma yoga. So now we will go to the next sloka. Sloka number 8. 8 and 9 we will read it together. Naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit pashyan shrinvan sprishan jighran ashnan gachan swapan swashan pralapan visrijan grihnan unmishan nimishan napi indriyani indriyarteshu vartanta iti dharayan naiva kinchit karomiti yukto manyeta tattvavit pashyan shrinvan sprishan jighran ashnan gachan swapan swasan pralapan visrijan grihnan unmishan nimishan napi indriyani indriyarteshu vartanta iti dharayan. So these two slokas, Bhagavān says, for a person who has attained jnana karma sannyasa. Now, what is jnana karma sannyasa? We had already seen in the 4th chapter. We should not ask it again. For a person who has attained jnana karma sannyasa, as basically one who has renounced the doership. What is jnana karma sannyasa? He does the actions, but he has renounced the doership. Simple. For a person who has attained jnana karma sannyasa, he does not have any right on action, but he has a right on sannyasa. So in other words, no action will bind him. Because he has renounced the doership, no action will bind him. Here Bhagavān does not talk about a person who is in sannyasa ashrama. Remember, this sloka is about a person who has done jnana karma sannyasa. He is not a person who has taken up sannyasa ashrama. Because we saw what is sannyasa ashrama. Sannyasa ashrama can be a vividisha sannyasa, it can be vidvat sannyasa. Vividisha sannyasa is taken by a person who takes up because of vairagya and who seeks jnana. Vidvat sannyasa is taken by a person who has got already jnana and for the sake of jnana nishta. Here Bhagavān talks about anybody who is a practicing jnana karma sannyasi, one who has renounced the doership of action. So in this sloka, when Shankara Bhagavad gives the bhashyam, he recollects the sloka of 418. We saw karmanya karmayah pashyet akarmanicha karmayah, the one that defines the jnana karma sannyasa in the 4th chapter, 18th sloka. Shankara Bhagavad basically recollects that sloka here. For a person who sees action in inaction, we saw that. In other words, for a person who has renounced actions through jnana, if he has renounced any actions through jnana, it is as though he does not do any action. And so Bhagavān gives some actions as examples and says, even as he is in the midst of these actions, he is not the doer. Even when his body performs these actions, he is not the doer. See, what Shankaracharya wants to establish here is that in every sadhana, at every stage, we talk about adhikaratva, qualifications. For example, if we say Rajasuya Yagam, who has the right on it? A Rajasuya Yagam can be performed only by a Raja, by a king. It is not for a Brahmana or a Vaishya or for anyone. There are qualifications. For every karma, there is an adhikari. So, Vedas, what they have done is, they have prescribed karma, they have also prescribed sannyasa. And if every karma has an adhikari, then sannyasam should also have an adhikari. Every karma has adhikari, so similarly sannyasam should also have an adhikari. Now who is the adhikari for sannyasa? That is the question. See, some people who are only focused on the karma kanda of the Vedas, who do not come to this Vedānta portion, who do not accept this Vedānta portion. In those days at least, there were people who thought that moksha can be attained only through karma. By performing rituals that are prescribed in the karma kanda portion of the Vedas, if I am continuously performing it, properly performing it, I will get moksha. That was the clarity that they had in their mind. And for them, they said that sannyasam, as in renouncing actions, that can be done, or people who can claim to do it, or who is capable of doing it, or who should be doing it, are people who are not capable of doing any karma only. So if you are not capable of doing any karma, then you can do sannyasa. And they said, people who are visually challenged, or verbally challenged, I am trying to be politically correct, or in the sense blind, deaf, lame people, those people only, they can do sannyasa. But here Shankaracharya says, sannyasam, as in renouncing the actions, can be the adhikaratvam, the qualification needed for performing sannyasa is only jnana. If we get that jnana, what jnana? Ātma jnana, then according to Shastras, that person, whatever role he plays, whatever position that person is, whatever stage of life that person is, that person has the right to take up sannyasa or give up actions. If once a person gets jnana, that person in whatever stage in life, he can take up sannyasa. Or if a person has tīvra vairagya, tīvra means, tīvra has to be underlined, intense vairagya. Not this, what we call as mashana vairagya or temporary vairagya. That's why when Buddha took up sannyasa or left the family, it is accepted because he had tīvra vairagya. And tīvra vairagya, you have the right to take up sannyasa. Or if the person, even better, if he gets the jnana, then that person can take up sannyasa. These are given by Upanishads. And once a person gets jnana, nobody can stop that person from taking up sannyasa. One cannot say, you have your duty towards family, towards society, nothing can be said. Similarly, if a person has got intense vairagya, he has the right to take up sannyasa. Otherwise, sannyasa has no other qualifications. No qualification of gender, male, only male people can take up sannyasa, nothing like that. Both genders are equally, it's available for them. No varnas are required. You need not be only Brahmana, Kshatriya, you can be any varna, you can take up sannyasa. As long as you meet these two qualifications, one of these two qualifications. Age is not a criteria. It's not that you have to take up sannyasa only after 50 or after 60. Education does not matter. Nothing matters. Only these two qualifications. So here Bhagavan says, jnana is the qualification for sannyasa. Bhagavan does not bring in tīvra vairagya as the qualification. Here he describes only jnana. And then what sort of jnana is talked about in this sloka? And for that person who has this sort of jnana, Bhagavan says, he has the right to renounce karmas. That is the essence of this sloka. That is one way to look at this sloka. The other way to look at the sloka is how a jnani looks at self when actions are being performed. How does a jnani, when actions are performed by the jnani or by the body and mind of the jnani, how does the jnani himself perceives these actions? We'll do a small vichara and then we will go to the shloka. See, what in the shloka Bhagavān does is, Bhagavān takes up certain basic actions that come out of the body. So in our daily life, the body performs many actions. The sense organs perform many actions. The prana performs actions. The mind performs actions. Bhagavān takes a few of them as examples and says, when these actions are being performed, what the jnani thinks is, the jnani thinks that I am not the doer, or the jnani knows that he is not the doer. That is the essence of this shloka. And Bhagavān says, when seeing, talking, hearing, even when these things are happening, the jnani is clear that he is not performing these actions. So for him to be like that, in that state of mind, or for him to have this understanding, what sort of jnana should he have got? Because what sort of jnana should he, even when these actions are performed, what sort of knowledge should he have in his mind then? Even when the body, senses, mind, intellect are all in action, for him to think, not just think, realize, for him to realize that he is not the one performing these actions, he must have this knowledge of being able to see inaction in action, seeing akarma in karma. In other words, he must be able to separate the self from the body, mind and senses. So the jnani is clear that the sense organs are interacting with the sense objects, matter is interacting with matter, and therefore I am not doing anything. Sense organs are also matter, sense objects are also matter. I, the self, I am not doing anything. For such a person to have this kind of clarity, if this person has this clarity, this knowledge and this clarity, Bhagavān says he does not need to perform any actions. He does not have any duties. He has full right on sannyasa. That's what Bhagavān says. In the previous shloka, remember, we saw kurvannapi na lipyate. Kurvannapi, even if he is performing actions, he is not affected. That is what we saw. It was taught as if jnani is performing an action. Na lipyate api kurvan. He is not affected even though he is in the midst of action. So it meant that jnani was in the midst of action in the previous shloka. Now in this shloka, it says jnani does not perform any actions at all. So how come there is a contradiction? In the previous shloka, Bhagavān said, even though he is in the midst of actions, that actions do not bind him there. Now Bhagavān says, in this shloka, jnani does not perform any actions. How do we need to understand is, in the previous shloka, it was said that a jnani does not get affected even when he is in the midst of actions. In this shloka, Bhagavān says, or it is said, that jnani thinks he is not the doer. The reason is, the previous shloka, it is spoken from the eyes of other people. In the eyes of other people, a jnani is in the midst of action. So in the previous shloka, it was talked from other people. Even though when they see a jnani, he is in the midst of action, he will not be affected. Here in this shloka, it is how jnani perceives the actions by himself. So jnani in swadrishtya, in his own eyes, through his own drishti, for him, he is not doing any action. For others, it may look as if the jnani is performing actions. For jnani himself, he knows he is not doing any action. That is how we need to understand this sloka. So the viewpoints are different. In the previous sloka, the viewpoint was from other person's view. In this sloka, the viewpoint is from jnani's own view. So here, even as a jnani, normal actions take place. He clearly understands. He clearly realizes that he is not the doer. That is the essence of this sloka. Now we'll go to the sloka. Sloka number 8, first line. Naiva kinchit karomi iti. Iti. Naiva kinchit karomi iti. Until this portion, iti. Iti means it is jnani's thought process. What does the jnani think? Na karomi kinchit. Iti means that I do not do anything is what the jnani thinks. I do not, na karomi kinchit, I do not do anything. Who thinks that way, that I do not do anything? Yukto manyeta tattvavit. Bhagavan gives two words to describe the jnani. Yuktaha tattvavit. Tattvavit we'll see. Tattva means ātma swarupa. The true swarupa of ātma. Ātmanaha yadatmyam tattvam. Yadartha swarupa of ātma is that tattva we are talking about. Tattva means ātma swarupa tattva. Vit means knower. Knower of tattva, knower of ātma tattva. That is called as tattvavit. Knower of Atma's yadartha swarupa. What is Atma's yadartha swarupa? In this context, we have to, Atma's yadartha swarupa, we should not say it is eternal, it is sarvagataha. In this context, we will have to say Atma akarta. That swarupa of Atma, he understands. Atma akarta abhokta. The other things we can always add. Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarupa Atma. So Tattvavit. Then Yuktaha. Yuktaha means he is established in this knowledge. He is enjoined with this knowledge. He does not lose this knowledge under any circumstance. See, for us also at times we have this happiness, peace, concentration, clarity. We all have these things. We also have these things in our mind. But then it is not permanent. It comes and goes. We lose it. Whereas for a jnani yuktaha, he is permanently established. He is permanently established in tattvavit. He is permanently established that Atma is akarta. In other words, he is brahmanishta. Manyate. Manyate means thinks or understands. What does he think or understand? Na karomi kinchit. I do not do anything. Thus thinks or thus understands a tattvavit who is ever established in jnana. That is the meaning of the first line. In the second line, Bhagavan is giving some examples of action during which the jnani thinks this way. So if jnani says that all these actions that are given in the second line of this sloka and the first line of the next sloka, that he does not do all these actions, naiva kinchit karomi, I do not do anything, then who does the jnani think does all these actions? Because these actions are performed. Who does the jnani think that these actions are performed? That is given in the last line of sloka number 9. What are the actions? These are not important for us. We can add anything here. These are only examples. So Pashyan, Shrinvan, Sprishan, Grihnan, Ashnan, Gachan, Swapan, Swashan, Shwasan. Pashyan means seeing, while seeing. So what does we have to add? Even while seeing, jnani knows that he is not seeing. Api Pashyan. Even while seeing, he knows naiva kinchit karomi. it is not done by me. Api shrinvan, even while hearing. So pashyan means it is an action performed by the sense organs. He understands it's the sense organs. Api shrinvan. Shrinvan means even when hearing. Hearing is also performed by another indriya, the ear, another jnanendriya. He knows it is not me. Api sprishan, touching. Even while touching, I am not the toucher. Jihran, smelling. I am not the smeller. When we smell unwanted stuff, when we get the smell of unwanted stuff, we should not feel, oh my God, I don't want to smell these things. I am very... You will have to understand, we will have to remember this. I am not the smeller. We should be able to take our mind off it. We should be able to... The whole exercise is about, the whole thing of Vedānta is about acceptance, is about tolerance, is about not getting agitated, is about not getting depressed. It's not about getting angry. It's about getting not upset. So we'll have to moderate. Okay, let it be. If it is there, it's there. Api ashnan, even when eating. Eating also is the action of karmendriya. Earlier it was non-endriya, now karmendriya. Api gachan, even while moving. This too is the action of karmendriya. I do not move. It is the legs that are moving. That I am immovable. I am all pervading. That understanding he has. Now we should be able to see this when we have, even when we have foot. In some years' time, when we become old, we may not be able to move as much as we are now. At that point of time, we will feel very bad that we are not able to move around. We have been able to do so many things. That feeling of unhappiness will creep in. So even as we are now, we should say, this foot is not me. We should get that understanding. We should get this knowledge even now. Then api swapan, reclining, even while reclining, the body lies down. Then api shwasan, even when breathing. Breathing means this is an action of prana, not my action. So Bhagavān gives more such actions in the first line of the 9th sloka, which we will see in the next class. Okay, we'll see more on this next class. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.